and Myrtle Beach wholesaler Southern Crown Partners Incorporated know our consumers enjoy relaxing days on the water with Mick Ultra's crisp and refreshing taste in hand. It's important to remember to drink and boat responsibly. Choose to be or to designate a sober skipper before leaving the dock. Do it for your family and friends, your passengers, and everyone else on board. Michelob Ultra salutes all sober skippers who take the pledge. Cheers, and we'll see you on the water.
In Myrtle Beach, you always go at your own pace. Lie out on the sand, lie out by the pool, go boogie boarding, go surfing, walk the boardwalk, walk the marsh walk, golf at one of 90 golf courses, mini golf at one of 50 mini golf courses, fish off a pier, fish from a chartered boat, go shopping, get drinks, eat the freshest seafood. The list is exhaustive, but the experience isn't. You can go all out or do nothing at all. How you relax is up to you. There is so much to do and explore, whether you're traveling with friends, family, or just yourself. With 60 miles of beach, you're going to find your place. If this sounds like what you need, then this is where you belong.
Trilogy Outdoors.
All right, folks, here we are, Trilogy Outdoors podcast coming to you, and it's nice to be back in the studio with the Senator, although it's a little warm today here in the Pond Road Trilogy studio, but that's this time of the year, and it's just what happens there, Senator. I'm sorry, we don't have the nice air conditioning and everything, but I got the fan blowing on you over there.
We might have to flip back to the original studio.
Might have to go back to your office. I agree.
When July and August comes, it's going to be hot.
Yeah, for the summer months, that might be a great idea. But, you know, I know you guys all live for the summer when you work at Columbia State House because your year is over. And our guest that you have lined up today is a great friend of both ours now, has been a friend of yours for a long time. Now, have y'all served all 10 years of his in the Senate together?
Yeah, I mean, Thomas, you've been in 12 years? Is that right?
Yeah, you came in the House the same year I came in the Senate.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right.
I was in the House a couple terms when he came into the Senate, and then I came over to the House in 2016, and we've been together ever since.
Yep, and now he is going on his merry way. He's
sadly departing us.
He's joining the ranks of us.
Yeah.
Joining the ranks of us. But, man, we're super excited to have you on, brother. It's the last time we were hanging out down at Featherhorn, I don't think we've had you on since then.
Really?
Yep.
No, I'm excited to come on for the second time. It's like, when those people go on Saturday Night Live for the fifth time, they get the 5-year, they get like the 5-time jacket. So
oh, yeah.
I had something for 2 times.
Yep, there you go. You got the turkeys laughing in the background.
Hey, they're laughing at me this year because I didn't kill one.
Well, that's what I wanted to start with. We've had a lot of turkey talk this year in the General Assembly. As you know, you've been involved in it, and we've heard from biologists and pseudo-biologists and wannabe biologists and turkey hunters and pseudo-turkey hunters and wannabe turkey hunters. And I think we're finally closing in on a deal on South Carolina's 2025 turkey season, which we can talk about. But I want to first hear, what was your season like?
It was interesting. I mean, I didn't get as mad at them this time. I didn't go as many times as I probably would typically. Yeah. And, every time I went, I heard birds, saw birds every time. But never really got a bird that was super red hot for some reason. And I did not go a whole lot the last 2 weeks of the season, with people that killed when I was with them a couple of times. But I don't know. I never pulled the trigger this year. And not sure why.
You said something that struck me because I feel like maybe we're kindred spirits in this. The longer I turkey hunt, I'm not going to say the less mad I am at them. That's not quite right. But if it's not just right, I get disinterested quick. Now, I'm super interested when it's all coming together. The temperature's right. The bugs are right. The gobbling is hard. You're close enough to get, that feeling in your chest whenever they're gobbling hard.
Right.
You know, when all the stuff comes together, there is just nothing better. But if it becomes anything more than that, I'm just not quite as I guess I'm just not quite as mad at him. Maybe I should have said that to begin with anymore. And I don't know why that is, but I want it to be perfect. If it's not perfect, I'm ready to do something else. I'm ready to move on.
Yep.
Yeah, and I won't say it was because like they weren't there because there wasn't opportunity, because there definitely was. It never was a great situation for some reason this year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I had the same experience. I called in a couple birds this year for a couple of people,
Right.
and I think if I been able to get Trip on more turkeys this year under better conditions, I think I would have been more excited about it. But I mean, my focus right now is getting my son a turkey more than anything. And I got Rick a turkey this year, which he doesn't deserve one anyway. But
Sorry,
yes,
sorry, Rick.
Sort of a slow.
I think Rick did deserve. I think Rick's had so much stuff shot out from under him. I think he did deserve one.
No, he doesn't deserve one.
I agree with you.
Don't get on Team Rick there. He doesn't deserve one. He's a game hog lately. At least he wants to be a game hog.
I can tell you that my year sounds just like y'all's. I took others, guiding them. Unfortunately, nothing ever fell in front of us. But we did get a couple great opportunities to get close. But my goal this year was to try and get Russ to get excited about it, excited enough to shoot one, or angry enough at one to shoot one. And the one morning that we had the true opportunity, it was 36 degrees when we got to the hunting area, and we left my house. It was 54, so you know how we were dressed. We weren't dressed appropriately, and it was too cold for him.
I know the morning you're talking about because I remember it being cold.
It was cold.
Yeah.
And he was shivering, and his little tripod that I had was just a little too tall. Just a bunch of little things were messing up, and so we backed out, went back, got in the truck, heated it up, and left, and hoping to leave those birds for some soldiers that were coming the following weekend, never to be seen again. But that's how it goes.
Yeah.
You know, when you're hunting an area that's got so many different pieces of property around it, those birds move a long way.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the changes and the potential changes, and what we're hearing from biologists and what you believe and what I believe. And let's have a little debate on this if we could. Okay. So what we began to hear.
You can't retire yet, Thomas. Here we go.
Hey, listen, I get to be a lame duck until mid-November, so I'm here.
Okay, there we go.
It's fairly empowering, I would think, to be a lame duck, because you can kind of. I mean, I kind of say what I think anyway, but you can really say what you think when you're a lame duck.
Right.
Yeah, you can really say what you think.
Yeah, really say what you think.
Yeah.
Which feel free to do that if you'd like. So we began to hear from DNR that the turkeys are in real trouble. I guess this started early this year, late last year, is when we started hearing from them in earnest, I guess. And the original proposal from DNR, which is how they work, y'all. I mean, just for y'all that don't know this, traditionally what you get is you get some stirrings from DNR, some talk from DNR, and then boom, they pop up with a proposal that usually has no chance of surviving public comment and legislature and all that stuff. I mean, it's usually a fairly aggressive liberal with a small L, not partisan liberal with a small L. Well, I guess it's not the right way. It's probably more conservative.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, conservative would be the right way to put that. Conservative. And, they did the same thing with flounder. And it's an interesting way of going about doing business because, it's not like they engage us or really they don't engage the public much at all either. And then they just pop up with this proposal. And this year's proposal was, Thomas, help me out, I think it was April 12th?
It was simple. I mean, my recollection was it was either April 10th or 12th in the two-bird limit.
Yeah,
that was it.
I think that's right. April
that would have been it.
Well, and then 30 days. I think it was.
Yeah.
A 30-day season. So April 12th to May 12th It could have been 10th, but for some reason I feel like it was 12th. April, let's just say 12th for right now, so since I can't confirm either. April 12th to May 12th, 2 birds, 30-day season. That was their proposal. Now, the minute that you start talking about a second or third week start date, second or third week of April start date, you invoke all kinds of passions in turkey hunters because because I mean most people believe that you have missed the peak of that gobble. DNR, if you're in the field a lot, at least, let's just say from the Midlands down to the coast. Now, I can't speak for the upstate where it's a little cooler, but at least on the coast, my birds traditionally are done by the April 10th. I mean, like I'm done turkey hunting really by April 10th. I might take a kid or a friend or something like that, but as far as hunting for myself and my little group of friends, like I'm tired of it by April 10th. It's time to start dolphin fishing by April 10th, and it's time to convert over and get my head wrapped around saltwater fishing rather than turkey hunting by the second or third week of April. So now you're talking about just starting turkey season the second or third week of April, and you're completely changing the dynamic. Everybody on the coast at least gets very, very upset about that. And what do the biologists?
Yeah, I think it's more of a coastal problem for sure.
I think you're right. I think you're right. There's a lot more saltwater fishing here, and April 15th to April 18th is really when the dolphin start to show up. The mass migration of dolphins start to show up. Of course, this year English, they hadn't really shown up at all. But traditionally, everybody on the coast is done turkey hunting by April 15th or 18th because you're gearing up that week to go chase a dolphin fish. So, why are the biologists saying we should start April 12th? And let me caveat this by saying some biologists, not all biologists, some biologists, such as our biologist here in South Carolina, Charles Ruth, and what's the other one's name, Thomas? The turkey biologist.
Oh, it's
Jay Cantrell.
Thank you, Jay. He's been on the podcast.
Jay, yep.
Good guy. I like Jay.
Yep.
Say that once you take the dominant turkey out, the dominant gobbler out of the flock, the hens oftentimes won't have as successful of a mating season. Sometimes they won't mate at all. Sometimes they'll move to a different property looking for another dominant bird. And so their theory is you should wait until after peak nesting before you start killing the dominant bird. And so that's the purpose in moving to April 10th or 12th.
Yeah, and I know that peak nest initiation date we heard over and over again was April 9th. I'm positive about that.
Yeah, I'm positive about that as well. April 9th, peak nest initiation. Now, here's the problem. It's not that I don't believe them, okay? It's just that, and I know that turkeys are different than other animals too, but I have seen with my own eyes, I have seen jakes, and I've seen 2-year-old birds breed hens, at least attempt to breed hens. Now, I didn't stick my finger in there and confirm that copulation happened, but I've seen a 2-year-old bird right after.
We're all thankful for that.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
You did not do that. Yeah.
But how many times have you shot a 3-year-old bird, on a decoy, and what happens? The 2-year-old bird or the flock of 2-year-old gobblers they jump on him and they start humping everything in sight, right? So clearly, a 2-year-old bird will breed. Now, is a hen receptive to that 2-year-old bird once the dominant gobble? I can't answer that. But I know for a fact that a 2-year-old bird will jump on a hen and breed her if she lets him. Okay, I know for a fact. I've seen it happen with my own eyes. So the biologists are saying, no, that very rarely happens. That doesn't happen very often. The dominant bird's the one that's got to breed in order to have a successful nesting season. I just don't know if I believe that, but I'm not a biologist. Okay, I'm just.
Well, and that's like the whole theory that that breeding is more hen driven than male bird driven, right?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It's a great point. Whether a hen is biologically receptive I couldn't tell you, right? I haven't done that research myself. I know what I've seen with my own eyes. I know it works the same way with elk. I know it works the same way with deer. You kill a big bull elk, and I'll be danged if a little small 5-point won't be right in there, like mixing it up, trying to pull 5 or 6 cows away from the big herd. I mean, they do that. Subordinate bulls, subordinate bucks, subordinate gobblers do that every single breeding season. Now, whether or not the hen or the doe or the elk cow is actually receptive, biologically receptive, different story, I couldn't tell you. All right, now here's the problem. There's also a set of biologists, turkey biologists at Clemson, that have directly disputed that claim. And this group of turkey biologists, they did a 5-year study, and I can't remember the name of the turkey biologist right now. I actually sent it to you. I sent you the podcast, Thomas.
Yeah.
The turkey biologist from Clemson did a 5-year study, and their conclusion was you could start as early as a week prior to peak nesting initiation in South Carolina, a week prior to peak nesting initiation, and it doesn't make a difference. So that would be April 3rd. Okay, so the difference we got now is April 3rd to April 12th, or it could be April 10th. I can't remember which. So we're talking about approximately 10 days of really the best turkey hunting that there is. Should we cut it out or shouldn't we cut it out? So one biologist says it doesn't matter, another biologist says it does. And so that's really been the debate going on at the – I think I've set it up for you, Thomas. That's really been the debate going on in the legislature right now is, one biologist says this and one biologist says that. I know that for a fact that the best turkey hunting we have is those first few weeks of turkey season. I mean, that's a fact.
Well, there's those studies also that got referenced several times this year. I want to say from Tennessee and Mississippi.
Yep.
That kind of suggest the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and Mississippi starts their season March 15th. Right? I mean, they just moved their season back to March 15th. They had the same thing. They had a study going on, and Turkeys for Tomorrow highlighted this study. And they basically concluded in Mississippi they could move their season back as far as March 15th. And Mississippi has got more turkeys than anybody else. We had a good point, too. 20 years ago, and I know a lot of things have changed in 20 years.
A lot of things.
But 20 years ago, we had a 5-bird limit.
I remember those days. I limited out my first year turkey hunting.
5-bird limit, and I think it was 48 days of turkey hunting. March.
I mean, we had that when you and I started in the legislature.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah,
I'm pretty sure the first bill we passed once you and I got in the General Assembly, that's the one that knocked it down from 5 to 3 because the thought process was we're going to give people less tags but more opportunity.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, and that backfired, as you know. But, yeah, I mean, we started March 15th on the coast. March 15th on the coast and April 1st in some counties, but March 15th on the coast. And
That's right.
And went all the way to, May 1st in some counties and May 10th, I think, in some counties. So, 40 to 50-day season, 5 birds, and you could kill 2 a day. So,
my first year I hunted, I killed. This is the first day I ever turkey hunted. I killed two birds that day, and 7 days later I went again and killed 2 birds that day. That's my first 2 hunting trips turkey hunting. Do you think I was addicted?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
then I learned it's about a lot more than that.
But during that time period, we had huge amounts of birds and lots of, obviously the growth of turkey hunting happened during that time period too because
Yep.
a lot of turkeys on the landscape, a lot of gobbling on the landscape, a lot of participation, and now we have 50,000 turkey hunters in South Carolina.
We do.
Probably because of that 20 or so years of really unbridled, really good turkey hunting. And now, are we paying for it now? Is it a consequence of that? Some people would say so. The biologists primarily that say start April 10th or 12th say so. But the other school of thought is the landscape has changed a lot, right? I mean, the landscape has changed tremendously. I'm just going to say for Horry and Georgetown County, I can't speak for every county, but especially in Horry and Georgetown County and Charleston County too, the landscape has changed tremendously. I mean, we've got, I don't know, 30, 40,000 new track homes in Horry, Georgetown, and Charleston County in the last decade. The landscape's a lot more fractured. You have undoubtedly created an environment where predators are more easily accessing turkeys, turkey eggs, turkey nests, poults, and hens. And so, we've got a landscape problem, a habitat problem, and a predator problem. And that issue is a lot more difficult to deal with. I believe personally, and Thomas, I've been talking a lot. I'm gonna let you chime in here, but I believe personally our biggest problem is habitat and predation. How we deal with those, whether or not we can legislate habitat and predation management, that's a hard question to answer. It's a pretty easy. It's like the easy button from Home Depot or Office Depot. The easy button is click. Let's just back off the hunters some. Let the hunters, only take 2 birds. Let's limit the amount of time that the hunters can be in the woods. Let's make it harder for hunters to kill a bird. That's the easy button. And that might actually work. I'm not suggesting it won't. The hard button, which probably will make the most difference, is improving habitat and reducing the amount of predation that our turkeys have. And I mean, it's pretty clear. I always say the 30-30-30 rule is a pretty easy one to remember. There's like 30% of hens actually initiate a nest. 30% of those eggs that were laid in that nest actually hatch. And 30% of those that actually hatch survive to adulthood. So
wait a minute, are those second 2 numbers actually that high?
Yeah. So if you do the math, now obviously this is on average, and if you do the math, that comes out to be like 1%, right? I mean, 30% of 30% of 30%.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not a mathematician, but that's pretty dang low, right? Like a turkey that actually makes it to adulthood, it's like a 1% chance of making it to adulthood. So, if you take into account that 30% of the hens only 30% of the hens actually make a nest, right there you've got a breeding problem, no doubt. I will concede that all day long. Only 30% of the hens are making a nest. You got a breeding problem. Okay, and that's not uniform. Some places evidently that are managed better. Some places that have lots of good predation management and habitat management, you'll see nest initiation in the 50s and the 60s. But on average, statewide, they're saying about 30% of hens will make a nest. Okay, so that is a breeding problem, and maybe that can be addressed by not killing the dominant bird in the first, before peak nest initiation. But the second 30 and the third 30, that is eggs that actually hatch to poults and then poults that survive to adulthood, that is 100% a predation problem and a management problem, habitat management. If you don't have the right habitat and you don't have predation management, an egg gets predated on right there in the nest, or a poult gets predated on as it's moving to habitat to feed or habitat to nest. So we clearly have a habitat and a predation problem. It's just that's not easy to address in legislation. Thomas, take it away. I've been talking a lot.
No, I mean, I think that kind of encapsulates the state of things pretty well. I mean, you said it. The bigger problems here are ground predators, which we have more of now than we did when you and I were probably kids. I mean, you've got coyotes now in the equation. You've got armadillos in the equation. In some cases, even exotic lizards. I haven't seen one of those yet. But
I've not either, but I've heard about them.
Tegus, right? Tegu
lizards.
Tegu.
Yeah. I've never seen one, but they're out there.
Yeah.
But my thought is this, and the thing is like I don't claim to be an expert on any of this, but as you know, we get a real interesting mix of like scientific data, biology, and then we get so many of these anecdotal stories, and we have our own anecdotal stories too.
Yeah.
But the thing that worries me is I hear stories from the upstate, people that know something about turkey hunting, and they'll say stuff like, they've got keys to 20-something properties, and last year they saw one set of tracks the whole year. I mean, they're losing their population. And I think, to your point, the bigger issues here are habitat management and predator management. But, across the state, everybody's not going to do that the same. And the breeding problem is probably where the tweaks we can make to the season probably come in, because you're not going to really affect the latter two with the habitat and the predators when you change the season. But my thought process is that if you can save a dominant bird for a little bit longer, maybe that provides a little bit more opportunity, for him to have viable eggs. But but it may be all for naught if we can't figure out ways, to educate and to actually get something done on predator control and land management. Because, like where I hunt, for example, it's really not managed for turkeys, but it just happens to be areas of the state that have, big expanses of row crops, pine trees, hardwoods, and swamp. It's a natural habitat. But I think when you look at South Carolina, it's hard to find in a lot of counties these large expanses of lands where turkeys can roam and range without it being broken up by track homes or development, or you name it. I just think that's becoming few and far between in a lot of counties as people continue to move here.
Yeah, large tracts of land, unencumbered, large tracts of land existed in much greater amount 20 years ago than they do now.
Yeah.
It is very fragmented today in some of the best turkey habitat that we've had. Now, you may still have 100 acres here and 100 acres there, but very seldom do you have tens of thousands of acres that are still stuck together and managed, by the way.
And that's not going to get better.
And it's not. Every year it's going to get worse and worse, of course, unless we do something about it. And certainly, I know you're a big conservation-minded person, as am I. Conservation Bank's done great jobs of preserving big tracts of land, and as have some land banks. They've done good jobs of doing that, and we've got to continue to do that. There's no doubt we've got to continue to do that. But we also have to, I believe, we have to find a way to encourage people to better manage their lands, and I include predator management and habitat management too. So I'm interchanging both of those. But I think we have to find a way to do that. Otherwise, I don't want to wake up 5 years from now and find out that our turkey population is next to nil or gone, and we've done everything we could other than habitat management and predation management. Next year, or let's just say 3 years from now, DNR pops back up and says, guys, the season changes haven't worked. Let's go down to one turkey in a 2-week season. And then 5 years from now, we're not going to have a season. And, I don't want to find out that we haven't been successful. And so what are we going to do? What are we going to do about habitat and predation when everybody, even the biologists that want to see the season go way later into April, admit that the bigger problem is habitat and predation, but they just don't know how to deal with it. Okay, well, I don't fault them for not knowing how to deal with it. It's a difficult subject, but me and you and Campson have talked about this quite a bit. Senator Campson have talked about this quite a bit, and we actually introduced a bill this year to provide a tax credit for people that are actively managing for turkey habitat, which includes predation. That's a big deal, but you're not going to get everybody. You're not going to get everybody. You'll get the guys that are investing, in their land, but you're not going to get everybody. You're going to get some people. And what do we do? It is a complicated, difficult issue to try to encourage people to manage their lands for turkeys.
But also one thing we did in that Senate version of that bill is we obviously raised the price of turkey tags, which I think most turkey hunters are really fine with that if they know that the money's going where it needs to go, and obviously raised the fee for out-of-state tags. But in our version of the bill, we actually have a lot of those funds ordering DNR to say, look, that goes towards depredation efforts and education, which I think is important, and habitat.
100%. You know, I mean, the tags that we proposed in the bill, $25. I mean, if you're not willing to cough up $25 for a turkey tag, then I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but you're just not, you're not dedicated to the cause, and you can stay home for all I care.
Well, and keep this in mind too. What made me furious for a long time is like, DNR would complain that they don't have enough law enforcement officers, but literally within the last 10 years, if you got turkey tags, not only did you not pay for them, but DNR would mail them to you free of charge.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They had to pay to mail them.
Like, and just the postage on that was probably $60,000 a year at least.
Yeah.
I could never understand that, but at least we've gotten past that now. And we're charging something, at least something for tags.
Yeah, I think there was a mental block, and you and I both were, sort of irate about that for a couple of years. And I think the mental block from, I'm just going to say the upstate guys is probably where the majority of that mental block came from, but could have been from other areas as well. But I feel like the mental block's gone. Like we finally moved past that and realized, okay, people will pay $25 for a turkey tag, and they won't be upset about it. And
paper clips, you're talking about $14 billion budget, but I mean,
yeah,
it's just,
yeah. I mean,
it's a mindset.
It's silly, right? It's silly. I don't want to belittle the conversation. I mean, there is a point where, I mean, there's some places out west it's getting out of control to go and hunt an elk or a mule deer or even a turkey. So I don't want to belittle the conversation, but we're not there. I mean, we're at $25. For a resident to hunt turkeys, and that's just not a lot, and we need it. DNR needs it, and the turkeys need it.
Well, I remember when we passed that, passed the last deer tag bill, and same with turkeys. My thing is, like, if we can't charge out-of-state people more, then I'll kill the bill.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same way. Yeah, I'm exactly.
I know you are.
Yeah, I mean, I would, if I could get away with it constitutionally, legally. I know there's some Commerce Clause issues that, we always get hit with, but I mean, if I could get away with it legally, I would just say, no turkey hunting for out-of-staters. I was just with Tom Mulliken and some of his crew today on that, South Carolina 7 expedition. Yeah.
And I was telling them about your other bill that, deal with out-of-state problems.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. The news media called the Yankee tax. I don't mind saying it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I would have 1,000% supported.
Yeah. I mean, any person that is right-minded and sees the mass migration that we are facing in South Carolina and the threat to our quality of life, I mean, you've got to at least admit we need a solution. You might not be for the solution, but at least admit we needed a solution. I mean, we can have an intellectually honest debate about what the solution is and how we get there, but you can't, not you, I mean, pick a legislator. One cannot make the argument that we're not in threat of losing our quality of life, especially on the coast. I mean, it's happening elsewhere too, obviously, but I mean, especially on the coast, we're losing our quality of life, and that includes our natural resources. I mean, I can't tell you, Murrells Inlet, I grew up here, right? I mean, I literally grew up on the other side of the inlet in Garden City. And as a kid, it was a fantastic place to grow up. I mean, as a kid, 10-year-old kid, I had a 15-foot War Eagle John boat with a 25 Mercury tiller handle, gear in the handle. And every day, if I was out of school, I was on that John boat in the creek, oystering, clamming, shrimping, fishing, scuba diving, spearfishing down at the jetties, you name it, I was doing it every single day. And from about August 15th till May 15th, you might see one other boat in the inlet. I mean, maybe. And today, I mean, you can barely put your boat in at the inlet. There's one.
No, I mean, I grew up going down there because people from Sumter tend to gravitate towards, Georgetown area beaches more so than the ones further up the coast. But I mean, I remember going to Polly's Island when I was a kid, and I was in high school. It wasn't that long ago. And the only thing that was really even around Pawleys Island was like a Texaco station.
Yeah, that's right.
And there was really nothing else there. And it's almost unrecognizable now when you see what it's become.
And it's really pretty sad too. And I don't disparage people for coming here. I know that's a great place to live. Our colleague Chip Campson puts it very succinctly. He says you don't have to pay people to move to paradise.
He's right.
And he's right. I mean, he's so right. We live in a paradise, and you don't have to pay people to come here. They are going to come here naturally because it's a great place to live. But it is undisputed that our quality of life is being impacted by that mass migration, and we have to figure out the solution to that. These are tough questions to answer.
Well, it's not picking on anybody. This is what I was telling folks earlier. It's not picking on anybody, but I think you and I had this discussion on the floor. It's like the story of the little red hen. I mean, if you want to eat the end product, chip in on the ingredients a little bit.
Yep.
Because it's like the fuel tax has been raised, and we're doing all these infrastructure projects. Our taxpayers are paying for that. And if folks move here, they're getting the benefit of what we've built.
It's almost like the height of arrogance to think about. Well, to think about like this. All right, you live in a high tax, highly regulated state like New York or New Jersey or California, and you dream your whole life of moving and retiring to South Carolina at age 52 or whatever, 55, whenever your pension starts up as a New York firefighter or a New York cop. Okay, and the minute that you move here, you're not willing to pitch in and pay a little extra to pay for the roads or the bridges or the utilities or the infrastructure that everybody that's already here has already paid for. It's almost the height of arrogance to show up here and to complain, to throw up your hands, as so many people did to me when the bill came out and sent me nasty emails. I wanted to retire to South Carolina, but that $250 extra fee, you guys are a bunch of expletive. You guys are a bunch of shitheads. I mean, come on, man. Seriously, like me and my family, and you and your family, and Inglis's family, and everybody else that's been in South Carolina their whole life, we've paid for all of this. Everything around you, we've paid for with our taxes, our property taxes, our income taxes, our sales taxes. We've paid for all of this that you see. It's the height of arrogance to show up here and say, I'm not responsible for any of this, but I get to use all of it. To me, that's just that's not the American way. And we should change it.
I almost went to the Georgetown County Planning Commission meeting last night. I got the picture of the what do you call it, the friggin' outline or whatever, and almost went to it. But I didn't see Merle's Inlet was mentioned in it.
Oh, the agenda?
Yeah, the agenda. I didn't see Merle's Inlet mentioned in there anywhere, so I didn't go. But
well, Inglis, we were while you were taking a pee break, I think.
Yep.
We were
actually I was talking to J.T. Tompkins.
Oh, the famous bass fisherman.
Yep.
So
sorry,
we got off on a tangent, and we were talking about I grew up across the inlet in Garden City.
Mm-hmm.
Took my John boat, my 15-foot John boat as a kid, every day just about. Every day the weather would cooperate. Hunting, fishing, shrimping, clamming, crabbing, spearfishing down at the jetties. May 15th to August 15th, you'd see other boats on the inlet. But other than that, August 15th to May 15th, maybe one other boat, if that.
Yep.
And today you can't put your boat in at the landing without, getting in two fights, running into two or three trucks, fighting for a parking spot, watching three guys from New Jersey trying to back their boats down the landing, and that's going to take that's going to take 2 or 3 hours watching them.
Don't forget the paddle boards and kayaks.
Kayaks. But then one, as that boat has to be taken off the ramp with a rope, the guy's got to walk it to the dock because you can't get in it and crank it up and drive it over.
Right.
And that's going to hold the dock up. But
yeah,
I think this has got to be more common. And I'm throwing this out there because for 2 years back in 2014 and 15, we vacationed and rented houses on Lake Watery. And Thomas, I think that's in your area, isn't it? Watery.
Yeah, not too far off.
Went to Watery, And we said, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to leave here on the 4th of July and get out of the beach and go up there. You thought we were going to a ghost town. It was dead. Yeah. They said after 4th of July that place dies on Watery. But I'm learning that in the last however many years, that has changed substantially because people are moving to the lake now.
Oh, yeah.
And it was beautiful. But, yeah, it's changed down here tremendously. All you got to do right now, and, of course, it is bike week, and so be prepared for that there, Senator. But you get in your car right now and try to drive from my house in Myrtle's Inlet to Surfside and back, and watch how many times Waze will take you down side roads because the traffic's so bad.
Yeah, you can't do it. I mean, you just try to. This time of year, I'll give you a good example. So, probably the same dates, August 15th to May 15th. My wife and I, Renee and I, will go into Myrtle Beach to go to dinner, to go to a movie, to go to a show, whatever. But May 15th to August 15th, we're going to Georgetown.
Yep.
Or Charleston even. I mean, sometimes Mount Pleasant. It's easier for us to put the boat in at our house, at the landing there at our house, and ride down to Georgetown on the waterway, on the river, and have dinner down there and come back. That's a much more enjoyable evening than it is getting in our car and fighting 2 hours of traffic to go to Myrtle Beach. Y'all, that is a direct quality of life issue that we face here every single year. And it's becoming year-round. I mean, it's really becoming year-round, but it's especially bad in the summertime.
Right.
And, English, you reminded me of something. Last year, before I left for Africa, I took the kids fishing. And very rarely do I fish in the inlet anymore. And I hate the traffic. I mean, I go to Georgetown most of the time. But we had a quick afternoon, and I wanted to just dump the boat in the inlet and go. And there was one guy on one side that was backing the boat down by himself.
Was that the church?
At the church.
At the church.
Yeah. There was a guy in the middle that was on the ramp that was getting his boat ready. Okay, like putting life jackets in the boat and like leaning down in the boat, getting his boat ready, not ready.
Yep.
And the guy on the right side was putting the boat in. His buddies were on the dock. It was high tide. His buddies were on the dock, not helping him back the boat down, not helping him in the boat. His buddies are standing on the dock with life jackets on, okay, which that's a bad sign already. He pushes the boat off of the trailer. It's like a bayliner, you know. He pushes the boat off the trailer, holding on to the rope, and he swims the boat to the dock. He swims the rope over to the dock. And he gets over to the dock, and the rope's not quite long enough to reach the dock, so he's trying to pull the boat. And his buddies are standing there, like, trying to reach for his arm. And one of his buddies finally grabs him and grabs his arm, and he pulls his buddy to the dock and then pulls the rope. And then they pull the boat to the dock, and the boat's, like, flopping around behind the ramp, you know, a big bayliner. It was, like, the most discombobulated thing I'd ever seen in my life. And the whole thing, watching the whole thing probably took 15 minutes, and not one of those guys moved in 15 minutes.
Nope.
And how many people behind him?
A lot. You need to listen to Trilogy Outdoors radio show. And by the way, formerly Southern English radio show.
Great show.
Senator, I got to tell you, this is your call. It was your call since day one, and I was sorry. But Trilogy Outdoors radio show on Saturday mornings on Gator 107.9. You've got to hear some of the stories from the rope-a-dopes. And it's funny. I can pull up to Orlando now, and I'll have people go, because of you, I don't use my rope anymore. Like, we're tired of hearing y'all make fun of us. But it's not that hard. If you can drive a dang boat, if your motor cranks, then hello, get in the boat and back it off.
Get in the boat and back it off. What's the problem?
I mean, when you rope-a-dope it and you think about this, I mean, listen, that's not my boat. It's called Not Mine. But that boat right there is $100,000+ boat, and it's sitting there at the dock, minding its own business, tied off, and you try to rope-a-dope your boat, and it gets blown into the wind. It can leave a mark on there. And
it's going to.
it's going to leave a mark.
Yeah.
But it's been crazy the last couple of weeks. We've had so many discussions over the rope-a-dope and the public landing and the non-preparation. People getting ready when they don't do one thing in the boat until they get going down. And listen, we're not picking on those one type of people, but we're kind of in this same. I don't want them to think we're picking on them because we're not. But there are a lot of new boat owners. Let's do that. There's a lot of new boat owners, and they're not doing things the right way. And that is, get your stuff ready across the street. I see you with your boys when y'all go offshore. Everything's loaded up across the street.
Yeah.
I mean,
when we back in, I would put us up. I mean, especially me and Kent too. I would put us up in the top 3
of being able to get gone.
Of being able to. I mean, by the time the truck starts moving in reverse,
yep,
it's a matter of 30 seconds or so before you got a 30-plus foot boat, depending on the boat, 30, 35, 40-foot boat in the water and gone, and the boat off the ramp.
Right.
I mean, that's how you gotta be efficient. You got to be efficient.
Yep.
If you're putting life jackets in the boat on the ramp, you're wrong. You got it wrong.
Yep.
Start over.
Hey, one thing, Senator McElveen, tonight you won't have to worry about because the landing will not be busy when y'all go.
No.
I know.
Speaking of that, all right. So you introduced it. We're going flounder gigging tonight.
Oh, my gosh. Are y'all going gigging? That is so terrible. That is absolutely cheating. It is ridiculous. You should not go gigging. I cannot believe that y'all would spear a fish. How is that fair? How is that right? You've got to give the fish a fighting chance with a hook and bait.
You got to.
Sorry, let me get off my soapbox.
Well, that's why you're not coming with us.
Let me get off my soapbox. No, I'm being sarcastic. I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with it. I may have like 25 years ago, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I think thanks to you guys in the Senate and especially on your commission, I think we have a very fair limit of flounder for the boat anyway. I think we are right where we need to be.
Yeah.
I think,
if look, so I hear this from dove hunters all the time. For some reason, it's always a dove hunter that says it. Okay, and I hear it from them all the time. What's the difference? And 12 or 15, depending on the year. Okay, let's just say 12 because that's been the primary limit for a long time. What's the difference in me killing 12 doves over a sunflower field that was prepared properly and me killing 12 doves over a baited field? Okay, I hear that all the time. And the answer is, I don't know. I mean, they're 12 doves. I mean, I couldn't tell you. They're 12 doves. I got you, okay? So what's the difference in a 10 boat limit, 10 flounder boat limit with a hook and line and a 10 flounder boat limit with a spear?
There's not a difference.
I don't know the difference. Some people would tell you it's not a reality. Most hook and line fishermen don't catch 10. If you know what you're doing, you absolutely catch 10. I mean, I talked to a couple guys. You know who they are. They've been on the podcast the other day, the triplets. I don't know if I should call their name or not, but
I know who you're talking to. Yep.
Okay, so I talked to them the other day. They caught like 50 or 60 apiece in Pawleys Island last week.
On hook and line. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep. You know, they said they only had like 10 or 15 keepers, but 50 or 60 apiece on hook and line. So, I mean, you know what you're doing and you're good at it. You can easily catch 10 fish with a hook and line. So that's
y'all saltwater experts, but you can't just go and stick 10 flounder if you don't know what you're doing either.
It's not as easy as just pulling up and sticking 10 flounder. I mean, there is a lot of preparation. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know what you're looking at. You got to have the right lights. The tide's got to be right. The clarity's got to be right. The wind's got to be right. Wind's got to be right. It all has to come together. And by the way, I mean, we had heavy rain 2 nights ago, right? I mean, so I'm thinking, we've had 6 tides, 4 tides since then, maybe 5 tides by now since then. Hopefully we've had enough flush out of there, but still you got a bunch of fresh water coming down through Winyall Bay. So, I mean, there's always variables in everything you do outside, including gigging. It's not a done deal, right? I mean, it's not done deal. It requires preparation and practice and experience to do it right. But I'll tell you, we still have our detractors no matter what. But but it is one of the most fun things you can do in the fishing experience, fishing world.
Yep.
In my opinion, I love being out on a good night, with those lights on and watching the bottom. It is just one of the most fun things you can do. I love seeing flounder laying on the bottom. It's a mixture of hunting and fishing. That's why I love spearfishing. It's a mixture of hunting and fishing, and it's one of the most fun things you can do. I'm convinced of that.
Well, I told you before. I'm not sure if I said it on the show last time, but I have such great early memories. My grandfather used to love to go flounder gigging, and he had the homemade incandescent lights on the pole, hooked up to the marine battery or whatever, and he'd had the rope tied around his waist to the john boat, and we used to go to North Inlet for years, and I really had not gone since he died until you started taking me a few years ago. But it's not a whole lot more fun than that.
It really is, and it is a traditional way of fishing. It's not like something we invented 5 or 10 years ago. Like you said, your granddad was doing it 50 years ago. I've got pictures of my grandma doing it, and my great-grandma. I got pictures of my great-grandma. My dad's got a picture of her with a spear. I call it a spear. I mean, it's really a gig, but a spear with a black drum in her hand, and that was from the 40s or maybe the 30s.
Yeah, my grandmother would go too. She'd go with him too. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it is a traditional way, and probably the most traditional way of catching a fish. If you think about it, I'm sure 30, 40,000 years ago, they probably weren't using that many hooks and lines. They were probably using spears. So, it's a traditional method of doing it, and it is one of the most fun things you can do, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm proud of it, actually, and
I think it's awesome. I think you get to see a lot. I'll tell you what, you can call live scope all you want, forward facing sonar, talking about how great it is. I don't think you can beat getting out in the inlet with bright lights at night and actually figure out and learn where fish are. Not just flounder, all the other things you get to see.
Oh, look, I can't tell you how many good redfish spots I've found because of flounder gigging.
Yep.
You think about, I pushed way up into this creek in this little pocket here, and I found a school of redfish. I'm going to go back there. And you know what? That works. That works. You become a better fisherman overall by flounder gigging. You become a better fisherman overall by spearfishing.
Yep.
You understand the way that a flounder lays. You understand sort of the transition zones that they lay in. You understand, the way that the eddies roll over certain transition zones, what the fish like to look at, what kind of bait they're eating. If you're out in the marsh 3-4 times a month looking, okay, well, the shrimp are thick right now. They're going to be eating shrimp, or the mud minnows are thick right now. They're going to be eating mud minnows. Finger mullet are thick right now. That's what they're going to be. You just got your finger on the pulse a lot better. And if you want to be a better hook and line fisherman, you better be a good gigger.
No doubt. And listen, it's not easy. I'm just going to say I've been with Jonathan from Livewire, and I told you, he finally said, he pushed me to the back of the boat. He said, dude, I am tired of having to watch these fish go by. You've got to let me get up there. And that was before I got glasses, which I can only imagine the glare at night probably is going to be worse with glasses. But
maybe.
I do have, I've got a set of lights at the house. I've got great lights. I've got nice underwater LED encased lights that'll I can rig up to go on there on the boat. But
hey, are they transportable?
LED transportable, yeah.
I might need to borrow. I need to borrow one. Can I borrow one tonight?
Yeah.
I got it.
You may be even in luck. I may have it in here. But yes.
So I've always had my bow rigged up on my Mai Tai.
Yeah. So this has got the clamp. It's got a C clamp on.
That's perfect. I've always had my bow rigged up. I've got built-in lights on my bow, and you basically snap them in. But I've got the plugs and everything built into my bow.
Yep.
But I'm always missing that stern. I need one stern light because the way that boat's built, somebody always stands right on the bench seat on the back, and so I need one light right there. And I'm always missing that light, so I might borrow one from you tonight. See how it works.
Absolutely, I'll go get it and bring it over. Russ and I'll bring it over and drop it off.
That'd be good.
Hey, I don't want to change subjects, but I do. I real quick, I want to bring up something, and I just want to, as a last, I want to give Senator McElveen here to talk business. I want to give him a chance to talk business.
Okay.
You obviously were well loved over in your areas by your constituents, my friend. And it's easy to learn why by just knowing you the way I do. But if there's one thing that you feel like you had a huge impact on in your district, is there anything that comes to mind? Something that you feel like you helped with and that was near and dear to your heart as you're leaving?
Wow, man! All of a sudden you got heavy on me.
Yeah,
Hey.
I want to know the answer too, because I'm gonna have to
Went
answer
straight
this.
to it.
Stephen's going to have to answer this question one day too. So
Yeah,
I just, I know. Listen, we can all pick and joke all we want about politics and about those that are willing to go serve and do their time, but I know everyone that I've met in this through Stephen is people are people that take it to heart and they're not there just for the name to be beside theirs. And I know you're one of those. And I just I wanted to ask you, like I know you. I mean, let's see where where you're at. For you to be on that side of the aisle is a little different, but I know you worked hard for your constituents, and I figured you've got something in your mind over those 12 years that might stick out, and you might not. You might have had so many that don't stick out. But I know I've watched you lobby down there in the pit. I call it the pit. What's it called? The
well.
The well.
The well.
I saw you in the
Yeah.
well. You do a great job, and you're well respected by everybody else in there. But how about have I given you enough time to think, or do I need to keep I need to keep rambling?
Yeah, I bought myself a little time.
Okay.
But no, that's pretty easy actually. I mean, you got to understand. Like I'm kind of like Stephen there. I mean, I live in the same area where I grew up, and I stay here because I love it. And I would say I've had really a big benefit over the last 12 years because we've had kind of a delegation this work together. And it's funny because our delegation here has been mostly Democrats with one Republican or two, but one of those Republicans in our delegation happens to be the Speaker of the House now. And so for a small-ish county, right now Sumter has two members of our delegation on the Finance Committee in the Senate. We have the Speaker of the House. We have another member who's on the Ways and Means Committee in the House. So it's a lot of concentrated power in Columbia, for a smaller county. And we happen to work pretty well together. And so, just in the 12 years I've been here, I've seen some of the things we've been able to do in Sumter and even in Kershaw County and Lee County around me, just to enhance quality of life and just, to put it bluntly, is through appropriations to the budget we brought home.
Yeah.
And, I just, I see a better community here than I saw 10, 20 years ago when I moved back. But that's one thing. But, y'all both know this, and Stephen, you've heard me talk about it. We have a major military installation here. So we have a whole lot of veterans. We have a whole lot of active servicemen and women. And I've been very fortunate, especially as a member of the minority party, to chair the Veterans Subcommittee in the Veterans and Family Services Committee. And probably one of the most important things we've done since I've been there is we have finally exempted military pensions from our state income tax. Our delegation worked on this before I even got there. I think a couple of years ago we finally passed it. It was a huge piece for us. And the last thing I'll say, really, that I'll miss is the stuff we've been talking about. The fish and game stuff. I think Stephen would agree. Just in the time that I've been in the legislature, we have lost so many people who really care about this stuff. And it's funny to me because when we talk about a turkey bill or, striped bass bill, or what was the one we had recently? The robust red horse.
Yep.
It's really just a handful of legislators kind of making these policy decisions because nobody else is interested in it.
Yeah.
And, so I mean, I at least have, it gives me a little bit of relief to know that people like Stephen will still be there, who has a large voice in that kind of stuff. And, I'll say this, is that Chip Campson, who's been referenced, I mean, there is not a member of the legislature who is more suited to chair a committee than he is of the fish, game, and forestry. I mean, the subject matter, is his expertise. And so I think we're fortunate to have folks like that still. I'm really going to miss that because it's something, that doesn't catch headlines all the time, but it's something that I'm really interested in.
Yeah, I enjoy listening to Chip. I do. He does a great job up there.
So I'll go out on a limb and say there are three of us that are really interested in that topic in the Senate. Now there's a handful more that are interested, but as far as being really interested in fish, game, forestry issues, that's me, you, and Campson, right? I mean, maybe I'm missing somebody. Point them out if I am.
Well, all right, so I'm just going to say this, and I'm not trying to throw him under the bus because he might have, I'm sure he has some people listening, and I have heard that he is an incredibly great guy. I have not met him yet, and that is Mike Rickenbacker. He seems to act like he has a genuine care for the resources. I don't know. He wears a badge part-time as a, whatever you call it, constable or whatever, but he's on the committee with you guys, right?
Thomas, is he on our Fish Game and Forestry Committee?
Oh, my God. Y'all are killing me. Y'all are killing me.
Y'all
just threw me under the bus, didn't you?
No. I'm not trying to beat up on the guy. I just don't know him that well, honestly. He's a newer senator.
Okay, he's a car dealer. Let's just say it.
Yeah,
all right,
he's a car dealer.
So a car dealer, a lawyer. It seems like y'all are perfect for politics.
Yeah, I just don't know him. I mean, I'm not. I know him. I mean, enough to talk to him, but I don't know him. I don't know what his passions are yet.
And the answer is yes. He is on the Fish Game Forestry Committee.
Yeah, you Googled it.
I got the fast fingers over here.
Yeah. All right, good. I'm glad somebody does.
Y'all are something else. I swear. I swear.
But no, I think back to the original question. Your point was well made. There's really only a handful of us that really engage on that issue. And the nice thing about that is when there's really only a handful of you that are subject matter experts on an issue, everybody else pretty much defers.
Listens. Yep.
Right. Like, I mean, pretty much if it's a saltwater fishery issue, like it's going to be me and Campson for the most part.
Right.
Like people in the General Assembly are going to stand up and say, Goldfish, what do you think about that? Or Campson, what do you think about that? And they're going to listen. If it's a turkey issue, they're pretty much going to listen to me and McElveen and Campson.
Well, and to your point on that, like the blue crab bill.
Yeah.
I mean, that I know that was painful for y'all. And I was on that subcommittee, but I didn't really have the skin in the game on that. It's not even close that y'all did.
Right.
And that was a tough lift. And, people just don't – the average person in South Carolina is not going to appreciate that, But
no, they never will. They never will.
I missed all that. See, I missed all the good stuff.
Stephen, you the same way. I mean, I came on the Fish Game and Forestry Committee for my first day in the Senate.
Yeah. And
no matter how long I was there, I never would have left it just because I love that stuff. It's fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. And it's important because people in our districts care about it.
Yeah, the subject matter is fun. And it is, our I'm looking at our T-shirts right now, our Trilogy Outdoor T-shirts. And what do they say? Fin, fur, and feathers.
Yep.
That's why we named our company what we named it.
Yep.
Thomas, is the Trilogy. What invokes the most passion in the General Assembly? The 3 Fs: fin, fur, and feathers.
Yep.
And that's why we named Trilogy what we named it. Trilogy.
Stephen came on the radio show with us on Southern English Radio Show in 2014. It's been our second year, 2014, and we were talking, and he made the phrase. He coined the phrase that day that said, "If it's got fins, fur, feathers, you don't F with it.
You don't F with it."
Yep, that was it.
And that's back when Stephen was still playing AA ball in the house.
Yeah,
that's right.
There you
Some
go.
of us went straight to AAA.
Some of y'all went straight to AAA.
Look at that.
Some of y'all went to straight to AAA. Well, I don't care. South Carolina is a better state with both y'all up there. We are a better place. Our people are fortunate to have y'all up there. There's no doubt about it. I got a lot of respect for both of you. Y'all are more than friends. I truly respect y'all and what you stand for and all that you do up there. And we may not agree on everything, all of us. I mean, Stephen and I both are on the same side of the aisle, and sometimes we don't agree on stuff. But at the end of the day, I know where y'all's hearts are, and it's going to be for your constituents and for the state. And that's, I think, first and foremost. And I hope whoever slides into 35, am I right? Is that your district?
35, you're right.
Yeah. Whoever takes over in 35 can at least fill one of your shoes. They're never going to fill both of them.
No, they won't.
They'll figure it out.
And it'll be sad for me, too. Honestly, I will be sad the day that we show up and you're gone. It will be a different place. But I understand, and I'm a little bit envious, honestly. It's, being in the General Assembly is a little bit like a prison sentence. In some ways, it's great in some ways because you can be impactful, but it's also a little bit like a prison sentence. And so
I know what he's saying in English right now because, this is the thing about the General Assembly. There's a lot of things that we all enjoy doing in the spring. And a lot of times it feels like your springs kind of gets, I don't know, like sucked away and goes away, because by the time you get out, it's pretty much summer. And then you're talking about getting out and going, catching up at your day job, and then it's vacation with your family. And you just, the bass fishing and stuff you like to do in the spring, you just don't really get to do it.
Turkey hunting. I mean, my turkey season's
y'all's turkey season falling right in the middle of it sucks.
It's hard. Yeah, I mean, you got to make time for it. It's hard.
Yours a little bit. I mean, you get to go home every night.
That's true.
I stay in Columbia because I'm 3 hours. I mean, so you just think. I mean, I think if everybody lived within 5 minutes of the capital, it would be a much different job. But I mean, I live 3 hours away. I leave Monday nights or Tuesday mornings, come home Thursday nights. And that's tough to do for 15, 20 years. I mean, that's a tough thing to do. And
it is.
And so anyway, I'm a little bit envious of you. I appreciate everything you've done for the state of South Carolina, for fish, game, and forestry, for everything really. And
same goes, man. Same goes. I mean,
sad to see you go.
Well, it does feel like a weight off your shoulders on one hand, but I'm definitely sad about it, because I'm gonna miss the people. We work with so many good people up there, from our staff. I mean, the people we serve with. I mean, gosh, our subcommittee we've had, that constitutional subcommittee we've been on for the last 2 years, has done so much important work. I mean, I love that stuff. The work is great. It needs to be done. The people are even better, but it's the time.
Yeah.
It's the time. It's the time stuff.
Yeah. No, I know. All right, buddy. Well, listen, we're wrapping up. Thanks for coming on. I'm going to see you in
just a few hours.
Just a few hours.
Hey, do you realize what happened? We all three saw a squirrel. We started talking about out-of-state turkey tags. We never even came back to that turkey bill.
Yeah, well, we could.
Hey,
we could.
So back to the turkey bill real quick. What's it going to end up being? Does anybody know?
Yeah, I got a good feeling.
Oh, you can't talk about it. That's right.
No, we can talk about
it. You can just talk about it as proposed, correct?
All right, so I'll tell you, Thomas. Why don't you?
Yeah, come on, Thomas, because I know you've been really active.
You know what the compromise is.
I mean, we started talking about out-of-state people, and we went way down the rabbit hole. But
yeah, we did.
We covered the fact that everyone basically agreed on the 2-bird limit, right? That was not a big point of contention. The start date was for reasons that you discussed, but we landed on March the 5th or 3rd.
April.
I'm sorry, April 5th or 3rd.
So the Senate landed on April 3rd.
With a 7-day timeout.
With a 7-day timeout, but the compromise is I don't want to say will be, because that's not fair. The compromise, I think, will be April 5th in conference.
That makes sense with a 5-day timeout.
Yeah, with a 5-day timeout.
And when we say timeout, obviously right now, if you shoot one
limited tag,
the first 10 days of the season, you can't shoot another one until we're 10 days in, right? So what we talked about doing now is, if we start the season on the 3rd or the 5th, either a 7-day timeout for the 3rd or a 5-day timeout for the 5th, right?
Yeah, no jakes.
No jakes. And let's briefly talk about that, because that was something that I was kind of dying on the hill on. There was some discussion about allowing youth hunters to take a jake. And my only thing about that is, do you want to create, real turkey hunters, or do you want to create renegades?
I agree.
And it's just like, someone complains when the 100-pound dog gets on the couch. Well, it's because you let, the cute puppy get on the couch. What else is he going to do?
Right.
I mean, so I'm glad we're not going to allow any jakes, period. But I am glad that we are not going to have 2 youth weekends on the front and back side of the turkey season. I think that's great.
Yeah, I agree. More opportunity, but let's focus everybody's attention. And by the way, it's not it's not a small amount of birds that we're talking about. They say there's approximately 1,100 jakes that are killed every turkey season. I think it's ranged from 900 to like 1,300, but I think it's approximately 1,100 jakes are killed every turkey season. Over the course of a decade, y'all, that's 11,000 gobblers that will be put back on the landscape. So 2-year-old birds, 11,000 gobblers that will be put back on the landscape that wouldn't otherwise exist. So I think that's a tremendous impact in and of itself. Without doing anything else, we're putting a lot of birds back on the landscape just by eliminating jakes from being killed. And then there was no reaping also. You remember that?
Right, no reaping.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've lost Inglis on
Whatever.
that one because
I'm done.
that's the only way Inglis can kill a turkey.
Y'all suck. I enjoy it. Thomas,
Yeah.
have you seen any of my videos of reaping? Dude, it is fun. It is work. It's fun. Steven,
I'm not gonna watch that trash. I'm not gonna spend my time watching that trash.
hey, I had to sit behind Steven and watch him do it.
Yeah, I'm guilty. I have killed one before like that, but in my defense, I killed one like that. Well, did I pull the trigger?
No.
No. I
We
didn't.
had a
kill
guy who had been blown up by a grenade.
Right. Yeah. We took a wounded warrior
Yeah.
who killed one like that.
Yeah.
So in my defense,
That's okay.
I was guiding a wounded warrior.
I'm telling you,
Okay, that's-
Thomas, it was a hard hunt. Now, we sat for 2.5 hours in a field, and I've got video. 30-something toms, 42 jakes, and 107 hens in the field, okay? Yeah. We can't get
Were
any
y'all
of them.
Were y'all hunting in February? What were y'all doing?
No, we can't tell you where we were, but we decided to get in the truck and drive around and go look at the property. We're driving down the road, and Stephen looks down this alley and goes, whoo, there's 2 toms down there. We're going to get them. He drives up. We go down this road. We get out the truck, making all kinds of noise, me grabbing the camera, this guy shuffling behind Steven. Steven's got a decoy and the fan in front of him. He walks up. Those 2 go in front of me. Steven holds his fan up like through the bushes and waves it one time. Those birds stopped what they were doing and took off running. And I've got the video of it. And then old boy had to shoot in defense.
Yeah. He did shoot in defense. He shot once and laid 2 down.
He shot once and
Well,
laid both down.
That's not really reaping. That's more like fanning. There's a little difference there, right?
Yeah, it's a little different. Yeah, I mean, I think the way I see reaping is you crawl up on a turkey with a fan.
Right.
I mean, to me that's reaping.
Oh yeah, but I don't do that. I don't crawl up on them.
I think the distinguishing factor is if you're sitting down on the ground and you're calling a turkey, and a turkey gets hung up, and you pull your fan out and you fan, and that breaks the gobbler loose. You know, that breaks him from being hung up. I see that as fanning, and I see that as I see that as okay. Okay, some people may.
I see reaping is like your Mohican sneaking on your belly, crawling in the field towards that bird.
Oh no, I don't do that. I use it on the outside of the field just to. If I can't get them to leave the hen, that's when I use it. I'm not lying.
Yeah, and I see that as fanning and not reaping, and I think most people would agree that that's the proper definition. Now you may disagree. You should use a fan at all, but as far as the law is concerned, and the law will be concerned, reaping will be outlawed, but fanning will not. Okay.
That's my understanding. In the way things read now on public land, I'm pretty sure that both of those are prohibited.
Yeah, you can't do that on public land already.
But it's more of a safety issue on public land because you can get shot. You know?
You can easily get shot. I mean, you can get shot on public land without a fan. You definitely get shot with a fan. But that's it. So I think the compromise will end up being April 5th, a 5-day timeout. So you can kill one bird April 5th, and then you have to wait till April 10th to kill another one. No jakes, 2 birds. May 5th would be the closing day. A youth season before April 5th, a youth season after May 5th, and then no reaping.
Yep.
I think
in obviously statewide now, instead of being broken into the 2 sets of game zones.
Right. We forgot the $25 for tags. That money's to be used for habitat management and predation.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and
then 125 for out-of-state tags, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. And what I've told DNR, because there's not a lot of specifics on the expenditure of the money, what I told DNR was what I'd like to see happen. They do it in other states, is to take at least one WMA from each game zone and designate that as like a turkey heaven. Okay, like really work on habitat management and predation on those WMAs. Really work on, planting chufa, whatever they need to do to really make that place a turkey mecca, and then do a limited draw in there. So, you can draw a turkey tag in the best unit, in the best game zone, wherever you want to go in the state, and, this is turkey mecca.
Yep.
And so I said, I told DNR, I think you ought to consider doing that. Other states have done that with a lot of success, but there's not a whole lot of guidance beyond that right now. I assume there will be a lot more guidance in the upcoming months, but that's all the guidance that they've gotten so far.
But, people get upset about start date and get real hung up on that. But it's a political process, and I think where we ended up, I mean, is a pretty good spot. Proof will be in the pudding, but the good thing we also do is make DNR report back to us by sunsetting these laws after 4 years this time?
Yeah. 2028 or 2030, I can't. 2028. Yeah, I think you're right.
And this year was the year of the sunset for the flounder bill.
Yeah, and the sunset got renewed. Yeah, or the sunset got eliminated.
Oh, sunset's gone. So
yeah,
we're staying with it.
We're staying with it.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great thing.
Yeah, we're staying with it.
Maybe y'all should teach Noah how to manage fisheries. Think y'all could do that?
I think we could do it a lot better than Noah's doing it, for sure.
No doubt about it. Well, listen, I know you got to make a trip, and I wanted to say I apologize for walking out on that phone call, but locally we have JT Tompkins, who's been on our podcast with us, came out of the Bassmaster Opens last year, was the EQ winner of the year, angler of the year at 21 years old, 20 years old at that time, at 20 years old. And he has become best of friends with Trey McKinney, who is 19 years old, the youngest Bassmaster professional, Bassmaster Elite Series winner ever, now in the history. He's leading the Angler of the Year, leading Rookie of the Year, and he's in town, and they're going to do the radio show with me tomorrow. Okay. But I'm just going to say this.
You took a phone call from a professional. You walked out on an amateur lame duck politician.
Isn't that ridiculous?
I'd have done the same thing, man.
Hey, but so since I can't talk about it tomorrow, I'll talk about it right now while we're over here. But there's some hot topics covered around Trey right now, and Trey was seen breaking a violation. It's public, so I'm not assuming, he's already been, he already got his penalty and everything else, but he was seen by Gerald Swindle, who is one of the most loved, biggest names in bass fishing, an older fella, G-Man, and Gerald approached him, and this is where my defense of Trey is he's 19 years old. Y'all think back to when you were 19. Anyway, he did not watch the video of the rules that they send out before every tournament. He did not watch the entirety, and there was an area that's not marked that was a no-wake zone. He didn't realize it. He ran through it. Gerald saw him do it and called him up and talked to him face-to-face and said, listen, because the rule states if they do not turn in someone who violates the penalty, they are just as guilty and will be penalized the same way as the person who broke the rule if it's found. So Trey is 19 years old, y'all. Think about it now. You've got to think back to when you were 19. Not. Trey said, good for you. That was his response, okay? He was actually leading the tournament after day one when he was told this. And so it kind of blew up, obviously. He turned himself in. He took an hour penalty the next day. He had to wait for everybody to go ahead of him. It probably hurt him. He didn't end up winning the tournament. He still had a decent tournament. But he is getting beat up for that. And JT and him both are getting beat up over the fact that they spend all their time on the water and that they have the ability, unlike the other bass pros who have families and other things, they're traveling and they're going pre-fishing and they're planning for next year's tournaments. And so they're getting a lot of hot stuff. And I talked with JT's mom earlier before Stephen got here and told her that if they will come on the radio show with me, I promise to make it enjoyable and talk about the positives, because right now you're talking about number one in points of the year for both angler and rookie of the year, and JT is in 7th for angler of the year and 2nd for rookie of the year. So I mean that's pretty impressive in the world of bass fishing for these two men, both under 22 years old. So I did. I told Miss Angela, I said, listen, I want him on there to positive. I mean, every time I've been with JT, he's been positive. We've had him on the radio show. I had him on the podcast. And, bass fishing is in a bad place right now. And so is golf, professional golf. And I want to give a shout out, though, to the Myrtle Beach Chamber of Commerce and Visit Myrtle Beach for an incredible event last week. Every tour player that I talked to was raving about the course. The spectators loved it.
Biggest PGA event in history, right?
In the history. Saturday, we broke the record for any new PGA event in the history.
40,000 something people?
Right. It was insane.
Yeah.
But they did a great job, and I know this tournament's coming back. There's no doubt it's coming back. But bass fishing and professional golf are both torn between the LIV Tour and the PGA Tour and between the Bass Pro Tour and the Elite Series, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's a lot of hot stuff, and a lot of drama over there. But tomorrow we're gonna be talking good things, and today we were talking good things. And Senator, it was a pleasure to have you on, and I know you're gonna have a good time tonight. I'm gonna hold that rain off. I pulled the radar up. Y'all look good till later. Y'all going to get about, you do know that Stephen is infamous for picking a night to go gigging when it's going to rain or blow.
I don't know, man. He's done pretty good the last couple of times we've been.
All right, well, I've looked at the weather. I pulled it up, and y'all should be good. Hopefully it'll hold off till later. But, man, we really appreciate you. The state of South Carolina is better off because of you, and we wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors and enjoying those kids, okay?
Well, I love coming on the show, and I love listening to it, man. Y'all do a great job. It's an outstanding podcast. I'm just glad to be a small part of it.
Well, you're welcome back on the show anytime, and we'll have to get you in person sometime in the future, whether it's sheep's head fishing or something along those lines. We'll have to go out and do that because we do now have the ability to do the podcast from the boat.
That's right.
And Steven's all excited about that. We were trying to take the world's strongest man guy out on the boat to take him flounder fishing, but we couldn't get it. He didn't have time, so we did a phone call with him. Poor guy goes and breaks his compound fracture of his foot.
Yeah.
In the competition, yeah.
Yeah, not
and
good.
for them, that's career ending. You know, it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I saw he posted about that he has lost 50-something pounds already.
Jeez, 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's terrible when those guys, when that happens. But anyway, it's been a great show.
Thanks
Thomas,
for coming on, man.
Thank you so much for coming on. And folks, listen, y'all can go to TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. Check out everything that's going on. And remember, Saturday mornings, 8 to 10, on Gator 107.9 here along the Grand Strand or on iHeart, you can find us. And that is the Trilogy Outdoors radio show. Senator, thank you so much for taking the time and coming in. And best of luck to y'all tonight, man. I hope y'all have a great night.
Looking forward to it.
All right, folks, listen, once again, thank you to Ted for all the rights to this music. Again, y'all, if we're talking fins, fur, and feathers, you're going to find it all right here on Trilogy Outdoors podcast. Freeman Boat Works and Trilogy Outdoors are proud to announce the addition of Freeman Boat Works to our family of incredible partners. Billy Freeman and his team at Freeman Boat Works epitomize the American dream. From building the first boat in Billy's backyard to a 150,000 square foot state-of-the-art manufacturing plant over the past 15 years, they are building one of the most sought-after boats in the U.S. and beyond. These incredible fishing platforms are built in South Carolina and are second to none in stability, speed, and performance overall. These catamaran designs are engineered not only to get you to the fish fast, but comfortably too. Years of refining designs and pioneering the modern performance fishing catamaran is why Freeman Boat Works is the #1 choice for some of the biggest names in the fishing industry. If it's long runs in the Gulf or the Carolinas, or days you can go fishing in South Florida when most center consoles stay at the dock, Freeman Boat Works is at the forefront in all categories. For more information on Freeman Boat Works and their 6 available models, visit www.freemanboatworks.com. Redefine your expectations.
Trilogy Outdoors Podcast is a product of Trilogy Outdoors Media. All views and opinions of our hosts and guests are not necessarily those of our sponsors. Trilogy Outdoors is produced and edited by Trilogy Outdoors Media. Be sure to follow us on all the podcast platforms as well as our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And also don't forget our other brands, Southern English Radio Show and Walk 'Em All Outdoor Magazine. To find more information, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. And remember, if it's anything dealing with fins, fur, and feathers, you're going to find it right here on Trilogy Outdoors.